Hello world, once again this is 3X and you are tuned into another edition of CAW University, my ongoing CAW creation tutorial series using the WWE games. This one is going to be another tutorial that was requested by a member of the CAWS.ws community, the username fliteska. I hope I said that right. It's again on facial morphing, but this time we're covering Asian people, Chinese, Japanese, or any variation of that ethnicity from that area of the world. Before I go on, just getting back into the whole philosophy of morphing, it's all a matter of trial and error, and it's just something that you have to do, and repetition is going to be your best friend. Like I said before, I've been doing this since 2006, CAW creation that is, and after a while it becomes second nature. But even still, to create certain effects, you have to kind of base your work off of reality. So a common thing that I do is base my facial morphings off of actual people, and even if I don't get 100% accuracy, I wind up with something that looks anatomically realistic. That's something that I said over the course of the last tutorial that I did on facial morphing, and it really will only help you create more realistic looking CAWs, because that is a very important thing in terms of face morphing and body morphing goes. Even if you're making CAWs that are more fantasy, you want them to have a certain look, so that when you match them up against an actual in-game wrestler, an actual WWE superstar or diva, there's not so much of a difference to where it's like, okay, obviously this guy doesn't know what he is doing or she is doing. The morphing is off, it looks like a cartoon character, things of that nature. So the model that I used for this particular morph is Asa Akira, who is an adult film star. If you don't know who she is, you're probably too young to know, or you're just not into that side of stuff. But I'll just go on to say that she's extremely beautiful, and yeah, other things that I will probably not go on and mention for the sake of getting this particular video flagged by the YouTube community. It's a known fact that I use models a lot as far as my morphing goes, female CAWs specifically, adult film actresses, glamour models, actual models, actresses, so on and so forth. I do it more with females than I do with guys, because I make more females than I do guys. Actually, no, more because on a guy's face you can kind of variate things without necessarily having a schematic to work with, but in terms of a female, there are certain features that you don't want to wind up creating, like say jawlines and the lips. Like a woman's mouth or lips are going to be thicker than a man's, things of that nature, just natural anatomical features that you can only get by actually looking at a female face. So that being said, I actually already went on and did the morphing before I began this tutorial, and I'm just going to basically run through what it is that I did to give you an idea of what it is that you should do. I'm going to put a picture of Asa, the same face pic that I used for this morphing, in the comments section so you can see where it is that I was working from. But basically, starting with the eyebrows here, I'm going to show you the morphings that I used. starting with the y-axis, which I raised up to max level because her eyebrows sit pretty high on her forehead. So you get it up as high as you can possibly get it. And we increased the thickness slightly. You don't really want to mess too much with the depth. I left that alone at 0 because if you do mess with it, what you wind up doing is creating a slope on their forehead, and that is not what you want to do. Again, that's one of those manly features that you don't want to put on a woman, so leave that alone. And as far as the angle goes, just slightly sloping the eyebrows down, so 43 is a pretty safe number to work with there. The eyes, she's got kind of smaller eyes, so I shrunk everything down as far as the size, height, and width goes. She's got kind of almond shaped eyes, which unfortunately cannot be recreated with this CAW model because there are the obvious limitations of what it is that you can morph on the face, like the angles of the eyelids, or the eyelashes I should say, the top area of the eyes, which would definitely have helped make the eyes look a lot closer to the genuine article. But again, you'll hear me say it a couple of more times through the course of this. There are limitations of things that you can't recreate on this CAW model that will unfortunately affect the accuracy of the morph, and sometimes it hurts more than others. Like if I could do that here, I could create more of a accurate look on her eyes. But as it stands, this here, the morphing you see, is the best that I could have done, possibly, with what it is that I'm given. One thing I actually want to point out here, though, is with the angle, as I have highlighted here. Don't do this. See how I have it angled all the way up to 100? That right there is probably the most commonly made mistake by any would-be CAW maker who's trying to make an Asian CAW. Don't angle it all the way up to 100. That completely defeats the purpose. There is no Asian person on the planet who has eyes that are that slanted at all. Your safe zone, your maximum, should be about 40. Maybe 45 is pushing it, but that's as far as you want to go as far as the angle of the eyes goes, if the person that you're morphing off of has an angle to their eyebrows or their eyes on their face. Stay away from anything higher than that and you're good to go. Now the nose, I've alluded to this before, is probably the most difficult part to morph when you're talking about any face, because again, the limitations of the CAW model itself and what it is that you can and cannot morph on the nose. More specifically, the septum, which is the bottom area of the nose in between the nostrils. Ideally, if I could raise the septum up so that it fits inward to the nostrils, then her face would look 95% accurate to the photograph. But unfortunately I can't do that, so this here you see is the closest that I can possibly get. The size is pretty much the same. Height adjusted a little bit. The width was shrunken down, as well as the length, to kind of proportionate to the rest of the face. The nostril width is what was increased because hers are kind of wide, but not too wide. Maybe we can bump that up a little bit more. Last second tweaking there. 30 seems to be kind of safe to work there. And then the angle, which was propped up because her nostrils kind of perk up a little bit, and the only way you can get that effect on this CAW model is by increasing the angle of the nose itself. Again, one of those things that you have to work around because there's not too much that you can do on the nose as far as the finer details of it. So that takes care of the nose. Cheeks, some slight adjustments there. Once again, cheeks are not really something that you're going to mess around with too much, but it helps every now and then to round out the face, depending on what it is that you do with the chin and the jawline, which I'll get into. So some slight increases there, just subtle stuff. Then the mouth, what I did was increase the height, bring it up a little bit higher on the face to kind of give more space to the jaw, and thickness, increased that because, like I said earlier, a woman's lips are thicker than a man's are. Drop down the width, which doesn't really affect the overall look that much, but her lips are a little thinner, just slightly wider than her nose is, so you want to try to kind of recreate that effect. And the depth we brought out to proportion to the tip of the nose, as you see there. Upper lip was not touched, but the lower lip was brought out a little bit more, because that's just a general rule as far as female lips goes. Their bottom lips are going to be a little thicker than a man's are. It's just how they're built. Don't ask me why. And the angle, we don't touch, really, because there's no real need to. Then, getting back into the jaw, she has a pretty prominent jawline, does Miss Akira, on the fact that it's very round. Her face is very circle-shaped. Well, not circle-shaped, oval-shaped, I should say. And the best way to get around doing that is increasing the height and width in conjunction with the outer line and upper line. If you even them out, you can create a more rounded facial effect, as you see here. Like about 45s is what I did for her, but if you were to make the same range or the same number, like say all 30s or all 20s or such like that, you could still wind up having the same effect of having a round jawline be created. And we just increased the depth in order to once again proportion it to the rest of the front ends of the face, that being the nose and the lips, and bumped up the thickness as well. Maybe we can increase that a little bit more. Not so much, but just a bit. And the ears, completely irrelevant, so I didn't touch them at all. So that right there is basically how it is that I constructed this face. And again, it's really a matter of trial and error and finding something that you want to work with. I can't go on about that anymore and say that the safest thing that you can possibly do is work off of a template, work off of a photograph, work off of something aside from your own imagination, because that is the surefire way to create a morph that is going to look realistic. Because if you're going by your own imagination or your own memory, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna be a little off. So just find yourself something to work with. A photograph doesn't have to be someone famous, but just anything that will make you work or see how it is that features can look or should look on the face will only help you in the long run in developing your own facial morphing skills, to the point where you would no longer need to use photographs. But even when you do get to that level, it always helps to have some form of reference material. Anything will help. Anything that you can use to improve your skills and improve your call making is never a bad thing. And if anybody tells you otherwise, then screw them. You know what I mean? It's like, do what you want to do. That's the main point of this whole process. Make what it is that you want to make, what it is that you want to play as, what it is that you're going to enjoy. And hopefully other people will enjoy it too, and they'll download your stuff and get you points and get you up on the leaderboards and so on and so forth like that. I mean, not to brag or anything like that, but last year in SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, I was in the top 50 on the PlayStation 3, and considering the fact that I make all original CAWs, that's a pretty big feat. I'd probably be just as high on this year's game if the servers didn't suck, but like I said, I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but it's all about repetition, and practice makes perfect. You gotta be in it to win it. So I didn't do actually any real-time morphing because I didn't want this video to go that long, but I do hope that you seeing what it is that I did and me explaining it kind of helps you along and gives you an idea of where it is that you can start yourself. And of course, if there are any questions that you have regarding this particular topic or any other topics that you would like for me to cover, feel free to leave me a comment below or in the thread I have on this video series at the CAWS.ws forums. Like I said, the next video that I do is going to cover a male Asian face. It'll pretty much be the same idea as this, with a few other little changes and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. Definitely gonna keep her around and work her into something different. Don't know yet what, but I will. Not like the last one I made. I kind of scrapped that one. Just wasn't working out for me. But she's going to be something. What? I don't know yet, but you'll see eventually. Anyway, as far as the tutorial goes though, we're going to cut it off right here, and that's that. This has been 3X, and class is dismissed.